Okay, so you heard the note. So this meeting is being recorded. This is the meeting of the Fairfield Economic Development Commission of April 4th, 2024. We're meeting in the Old Town Hall Conference Room on the second floor. It is 8:36 a.m. We do have a quorum. In attendance, we have Colin Colburn in the room with us today, Matt Rappaport, Don Peterson, our Commissioner Emeritus, Justin Beck, Jennifer Anderson, Annie Hockhauser, joining us online. We also have Beverly Ballas from the Fairfield Chamber of Commerce and Gretchen Gerthner, our recording secretary. I'm your host, Mark Barnhart, Director of Community Economic Development, and with us as well as our guest today, Joe Ercolano, who's the State Director of the Connecticut Small Business Development Center. Welcome all. I hope everyone managed with the storm last evening. And with that, I guess we'll call the meeting to order. I'll defer to Colin as our Steve Rosato and Kevin Lesko can't be with us this morning, but I guess the first order would be the approval of the minutes.
Yep. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from March 7th?
Don't all speak at once, you guys on raise a hand.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion made and seconded to approve the minutes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So very pleased to have with us today Joe Ercolano, who's the State Director of the Connecticut Small Business Development Center. We work a lot with SBDC. They're funded through the Small Business Administration. They provide a lot of business support, technical assistance, one-on-one business advising, all kind of educational resources to the business community here in Fairfield and throughout the state. So without further ado, I'd like to again introduce Joe and thank him for joining us today and spending a few minutes to just share with the group a little bit about what SBDCs do and your work in the state.
Thanks, Mark. Pleasure to be here. I was saying before you got here, Colin, that I've lived in Fairfield 27 years, now live in Black Rock, sat on the Recycling Commission, Solid Waste Recycling Commission for a number of years. So I can appreciate what you folks are doing. It's a great testament to towns in Connecticut that we have volunteers that step up and do this kind of work because it makes a huge difference. Can't do everything with government itself, right? And that's why we're around, because you know our funders know that they need to put people out on the street, and that's one of the hallmarks of our program. We have 15 advisors around the state providing free confidential advising to small businesses. People want to start, and they're at chambers of commerce, they're at town halls, they were here a while ago, but things change. But we appreciated, Mark, your hosting for a while. But we're accessible, and these days the volume of the people, number of people that we serve, still way up for prior to COVID. Eked at, we had about 2,000 clients per year that registered for our services in 2019. By the end of 2020, it was 4,100. And the next year it was 5,300. So, and it's been leveling, but last year we still served 2,843. Monday morning in our queue on our registration on our website, we had 16 people that decided over the weekend, the holiday weekend, I want to start a business or I want help. We're running still higher than usual people who want to start a business than having a business. So we have 4 people that's all they work on is what we call pre-venture clients, and their expertise is developed over the years. So they help them with everything from their business model, their concept, their business structure. We're not lawyers, we're not attorneys, so we don't give legal advice about should I be an LLC or should I be an S Corp or a B Corp or whatever. But you know, we're giving them some general guidance, pointing them to resources, talking through some of the issues they will face. And of course, everybody calls these days and says, I need a grant. We understand there's a grant You know, so years ago, before COVID, my answer was this: the only grant I know is on the 50. So, you know, good luck. There's no grants out there, but now there's grants. But grants are meant to be a temporary sort of support for small business. So we try to engage people with thinking about the bigger picture, step back, think about your long-term financing needs. So our team has a lot of experience. They're former business people. There's a couple of people that have degrees in social work, which is amazingly helpful to deal with individuals, because everybody has crises during their journey to start or to grow their business. But also we invest a lot in professional development. So as part of a national association of SBDCs, there's 63 SBDCs in the country. The program was started in 1979. Connecticut's launched in 81. And it's part of that. We have an annual conference with 12 to 1,400 people attending. Last year was in Nashville. Got to go to the Grand Ole Opry. Not my usual stick, but I enjoyed it. We have our own regional professional development conference in Massachusetts. The 6 New England SBDCs. Connecticut is the host. They won't come to Connecticut. This is a problem. Maybe it's my personality, but I can't get anybody from Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont to come to Connecticut. I sent them a picture of, I found a patio in East Haven with palm trees on it. I sent it to them. I said, Connecticut's changed. You got to come. No, they don't want to come. All right, fine. So we'll go to Mass. But it's 3 days of professional development. So the purpose of the reason I'm mentioning is just to make sure people understand that we're not volunteers. We're paid. We're all state employees because we're housed at UConn, and we are driven by funder metrics. We have to make certain goals, and you know, we really try to stay up and be relevant, on top of things. What's coming out these days, whether it's AI or whether it's, you know, analyzing analytics of your data, whatever you can pull out of your business, digital marketing, digitization in general of businesses. We're not experts in all of that. Being at UConn helps. We've had programs over the years where we've tapped students, and, you know, students are students. Some are great and they stay focused, and some get distracted. I mean, it's college, right? So, but that's been great. Professors have been involved with us. We run for example, a minority business growth program, 8 sessions, and 2 UConn professors will present during those sessions. Last night, we had our cohort for what we started calling business financial literacy. We have 41 people registered for that. It's 4 sessions, and with the last session being presented by 2 nonprofit organizations that counsel on credit scores. Part of the reason for that is the state started the Boost Loan Program. Some of you heard about 4.5% still the interest rate, which is absolutely fantastic these days, but a lot of people don't qualify. You go through a portal and you get matched with a lender, and you start the application process, and then it's like it's a nonprofit lender. It's Community Economic Development Fund out of Meriden, or it's HEDCO out of Hartford, or it's the National Grow America, formerly National Development Council. You remember Kevin Grimes? Yeah. And it's a newer lender from New York, Pursuit. Nonprofits, but they still have lending underwriting requirements, and credit score is one of them. So we try to help people understand the things they do that impact their business credit score. And we're not trying to teach them all the aspects of finance. That'll scare people away. But you know,
should.
But it's a slog to work with folks and say, hey, you know, some of the things you're doing, your cash budgeting, you know, your debt service on your cash, you know, what you think you can cover with cover for debt service is not necessarily what the lender thinks you can cover. And we heavily push the idea of projections, revenue and expense projections. We have some tools for that, nothing elaborate, but that conversation with business owners, whether they're new or whether they're 18 months old or they're 30 years old. In fact, we have one client that's 200 years old. But whatever it is, you've got to be able to defend your assumptions in front of a lender, or if you're going for equity investment, you got to defend that, right? So that's one of our roles, is to be the sounding board and to raise questions and help people become more bank ready, if you will. And we get referrals from banks saying, hey, this person's not really quite ready for prime time. Could you talk to them? And we do that all the time, and we're happy to do that. So I'm bouncing a little bit, but I'm trying to just paint a picture of, we work on marketing, we work on product development issues. We help people with federal research grants, SBIR, STTR, Small Business Innovation Research Grants. I can never get STTR is really more academic-based technology transfer, I think is in there somewhere. We'll be running an accelerator program on SBIR, 6 parts with the Community Foundation of Greater New Haven, starting later this month. We've helped, last 3 years, we've worked with 77 people who are trying to apply non-dilutive. You get this grant, the government doesn't take a piece of your business. Phase 1 is up to 150K, I believe. Phase 2 could be $1 million. It's really to bring innovation to the market. Doesn't mean the government agency is going to buy your product, but they think it's something that should be commercialized and out in the market. And they may be interested in it down the road. So it's a really important thing. We've seen people come out of existing businesses with ideas that their parent company doesn't really want to try to exploit, or we've seen just individual entrepreneurs come forward with ideas. That's the kind of thing we get really excited about, but we get excited about, local businesses too, that are just trying to survive and stay ahead of the game. Our mix is very diverse. Probably service is our biggest, but it's not even 20%. We're all over the map with the types of businesses we work with. 10% roughly are manufacturers, about 10% are tech type companies, and hospitality, medical, health. We'll work with anybody.
What's been the fastest growing of those different industries?
Yeah, it's been primarily, I wouldn't say B2B services, more to B2C services. We have definitely seen a lot of daycare, childcare. We have seen a lot of other personal health and wellness. We've seen a lot of that. We still get restaurants and hospitality, but it's always been a tough industry, as you know, particularly, and Mark, but it's an industry that still can survive in this. I mean, there's a lot of disposable income in parts of Connecticut. The more challenging thing is to work with folks in communities that aren't as strong economically, and help them understand you have to draw a bigger line around your market, your potential market. You might not make it on Madison Avenue in Bridgeport, but if you draw a circle that says, I've got Trumbull, I've got Monroe, I've got Stratford, I've got Fairfield, maybe you'll make it. When Mayor Finch used to see me and go, how often he knew I lived in Fairfield. And he said, how often do you come to Bridgeport? You probably never come, do you? I go, what do you mean? I got my car fixed there last week. I got my Italian deli meat from Sorrento's when it was on Madison. Was it Madison?
Capital.
Yeah.
Capital. Yeah. And it's people go where they can find what they want. Right. And there's a lot to want in Bridgeport. But pockets of people just don't have access to support and resources, and it's challenging. Equity investment, we get one of the goals we're goaled on by the feds is the number of approved transactions, capital infusion transactions that they call it, either debt or equity, infusion into the company. And last year we hit 30 million in equity. So we do work on, $5, $10, $15 million deals. We have an advisor in Darien, and so all she does is work with angel and other kinds of investors to try to connect people to that source of money. It's not easy. And then we're just we're doing everything from $2,000 grants from the Women's Business Development Center on up to, $2 million SBA 504 loans from a commercial bank with an intermediary, perhaps in their nonprofit intermediary. So we have to be kind of aware of all of that. We have market research. We're big believers in although I can get my staff to use it more, Esri, Business Analyst Online, which is a location-based data, which is fantastic if I want to open Chick-fil-A probably uses some version of it, right? They know what they're doing, but you can compare locations and look at all kinds of data, including spending data that Esri buys from whoever they buy it from, credit card companies and other places. So we're just trying to get the word out because we're free, we're confidential, we can help a lot of businesses. And so anything that we can do to work with Mark, or Beverly, to put on any kinds of programs or just be available. One thing that's coming up that you may or may not have heard about, probably not have heard about it yet, is June 4th, there'll be a capital matchmaker event where lenders come in and then procurement type matchmakers, potential borrowers can get time with a lender to talk about their needs and understand what the lender's looking for, if you will. It's going to be a Fairfield deal at the Dolan School. They are hosting that, and SBA is really SBA and us are the key drivers of it. But SCORE will be there doing a workshop with us, and Women's Business Development Center will be there. Last time we did it at Southern Connecticut, we had 19 lenders. I think this time we expect 20 or 21.
Great.
Yeah.
And what date is that?
June 4th.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll definitely help get that word out.
Yeah.
Is there a flyer or anything?
Not yet.
Not
Soon.
yet, there will be. Okay.
Very soon, yeah. And you'll definitely all get it.
Morning, afternoon,
It's going to be morning. I think it runs from 9 to 1.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, roughly 9 to 1.
That's great.
Yeah, and we have some workshops going, and while people are milling about waiting for their appointments, or after they have their appointments with lenders, they can stop by and, one on business plans, one on getting to yes with the lender, kind of a thing, topics like that.
That's interesting. I just got a call from Webster Bank, not Webster, Westport National on the other side, and they wanted to put together some type of event to present their SBA loan availability to businesses. So
it should be part of this.
Right. And so if someone is interested in,
give them my card, give them my net phone number or
That would be the best opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because SBA gave us a list of authorized lenders, but sometimes it depends on the person's name. And with banks, people come and go sometimes. So,
I sure do.
you could be writing to somebody who's not there anymore. They're at a different bank.
Right.
But that's okay.
Got to update all my contacts.
We'll chase them down.
All right. So that's great. So that's something we can promote.
Yeah.
Once the flyers start.
Absolutely.
Well, the SBDC, Joe and his team are my first call typically with, and I quickly realized when I got into this line of work, and I met with a lot of small business folks that there was a limit to, how much time and attention I could devote, as well as my expertise level. So, in terms of providing the one-on-one business advising and support to help, businesses develop a business plan, that's something that really, we can assist, but typically I just say, hey, you should really talk to the Connecticut SBDC. That's what they're there for. So
we're happy to.
A lot of folks have an idea that they want to have a business. Usually you have to have a little bit more concrete plans before it becomes a productive meeting with you folks up there.
That's true.
You're always welcome to have use this. I mean, we had a satellite office here for a bit, but even without having a physical location, you're always welcome to use space here if that's helpful to meet with businesses in Fairfield and elsewhere.
Appreciate that. And just because it says UConn on the back of my card, we work with every college in the state in some way, shape, or form. Fairfield, Sacred Heart. We have a promise of we don't get up there much, but the iHub up at Sacred Heart is great space, and they're very accommodating. So we have meetings there, but we haven't done an event there yet, but we've talked about it multiple times. We will do one eventually. UB, we have somebody involved with their entrepreneurial center there. Trinity College, you know, which is, it doesn't necessarily come to mind for business and entrepreneurship. I don't know why I say that, but never came to my mind. But we've done programs with the whole couple of classes, and worked with 25 students at a time. So we're available if anybody wants to do anything or has an idea. We're happy to.
We could do a breakfast or something. And look at the timing on that one is fast, but we can always provide, Mark and I, we can do a breakfast and have people attend in the business community for you to present. I think that would be nice to do.
We've done that before through the library with like business resources. We've had folks from SCORE and Connecticut SBDC and lenders and others present. So maybe we'll give a little bit of time since we've got this big event coming up in June. That makes sense in Fairfield. Maybe we'll look later. So
Mark, I just I have just a question and idea. So hi Joe, I'm Jen Anderson. I sit on the Economic Development Committee, but I'm also the head of marketing and communications for Fairfield University.
Jen, by the way, you and I used to work together at Pitney Bowes.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah, well, I probably had a little more hair back then. Maybe taller.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, congrats being at Fairfield. I graduated there twice. Not that it didn't take 2 times. I got 2 degrees.
Well, thank you. I can't believe it's been 10 years since I left Pitney. It's crazy. But two just thoughts. So Beverly and Mark, if we do host anything, which would be awesome, we've got the downtown bookstore location now, and the second floor, this would be something perfect to use the second floor of the bookstore for. And Joe, if you do need sort of meeting space or you wanted to host a day to do, meets with small businesses who might be interested, we have the second floor of the bookstore has now been renovated to be a large event space, which can house about 200 people from a seating capacity standpoint. But we also have conference rooms. So we built in 4 conference rooms that could be used, for meetings like that, if you wanted to do some kind of all day open house or something of that nature.
Fantastic.
The other sort of question I had was, each April, our Dolan School of Business puts on a small business startup competition. And it's student startup teams. They work all year. So they apply to be part of this late summer, early fall. They go through a whole process of interviews. They've got to have a solid business plan. So it starts with about 30 teams and then narrows it down to, I think we have a total of 5 that actually present. It's run almost like a TV show, to be honest with you. It's a pretty significant production. We live stream it. We've got live audience and we've got a panel of investors. So they have to present to the investors and get live money, like right there and then. But it could be something that, as these teams are looking to develop, or the teams that don't actually make the startup competition, but still have questions on, how to start a business, how to finance a business, all of that. I'm just thinking it could be a good partnership with our School of Business. So maybe when you're here in June, we can connect you with the dean and see if there's any opportunity there.
Excellent. Love to talk about that.
Thanks, Jen.
Yep.
Anything else from other commission members joining us online? Justin, I love your profile there.
One thing out of curiosity, I work in the enterprise space selling digital marketing and IT services. One of the big challenges in both of those spaces for the past couple of years since 2020 has been access to skilled labor in certain areas. I'm curious for these small businesses, how big of an issue is that here? And if it is it industry vertical specific, or is it just kind of en masse?
Yeah, it's a question I'm not expert in, but I would offer this. One is that the context of our clientele is such that probably 65 or 75% of them don't have full-time employees. They hire contractors if they hire anybody. And that's just the nature of, I mean, I think that's a big reflection of the state. 98%, the numbers, 98, 99% of establishments in Connecticut are less than 20 people. Establishments isn't business necessarily, but it's probably the only indicator. I think that our and this is not a direct answer, I'm sorry, but I think
it's a hard question, I think. So
well, it's a good question. But I think our role is more to help people understand what they should do when they're trying to hire talent. They don't have guide rails. They don't have job descriptions. They need to know, they need to be maybe, referred to resources, but the resources are, having worked at job training for a couple of years in Bridgeport, it's a hard thing to upskill people. I'm not trying to put down job training programs. Believe me, I would never do that, but it's not easy. And this is such a fast moving area that you need to be constantly, you just have to be, I think you need to just get into that mindset of something like digital marketing at an early age, or as early age as possible, and then just to devote yourself to it, because it's like medicine, right? To me, this is just me. I'm a lay person. I am not an expert, but it's like medicine. You're going to be reading journals and reading about what's the latest thing in this, field. And I think marketing is the same thing, as particularly digital marketing. So I don't know. I think that it's something that we need to, number one, we need to upskill our own people to have conversations so they could talk to clients and say, here's how you approach this. I think the biggest challenge is that they think they don't have a budget and they want to do it themselves and they don't have the time. And they sometimes they buy a platform or invest in a platform or license something, or, and then it sits there. They get a website built by somebody, they scrape together some money and they get a website built and they don't touch it for 6 months. We do that too. We just don't have time. They don't, when they prioritize, they don't necessarily think about paying professionals to help them, because they always have some other fire drill they need the money for. So it's tough. I'm not giving you an answer.
It's good insight.
It's good filibuster.
That's right. If you ever want to chat some more, happy to, have that conversation.
I just think about, like you said, B2C services is a big growing area.
Yeah.
And I think one of the challenges we probably have, especially in this part of the state, is access to the people that could work in B2C services in this area or want to.
That's right.
In that area, because it's becoming more expensive to live here, which draws a different kind of resident who probably has a full-time job. So how do you access that that pool of talent?
We're going to go out for a consultant soon to co-advise with our advisors, but we're not, given the state salary structure and the rules around hiring in the state, we just said, we got to do this as a consultant. We don't know what we're going to get. We don't have a huge budget, but we need, even 20 to 25 hours a week of somebody who has more experience in marketing to work alongside our advisors, so they could hand them people to work with that go deeper into marketing, particularly digital marketing. And we don't know what we're going to get. We don't know what the response is going to be. Probably it could be anything from hysterical laughter. That's what you're paying? No. Or, I could use another 20 hours a week. And that's not my usual pay grade, but I'll take it. We don't know. We'll see. But one other thing we're starting soon is kind of gets a little bit to what the point you're making about just people available. It's an immigrant entrepreneurship program. And it's more from the side of people who want to start or bring a business they had in their country of origin to Connecticut. We can only work with legal folks, obviously, because we're federally funded, but we think it's an important opportunity, you know, in the state. And I don't know if that will have any spillover for workforce, because, you know, maybe the more people we talk to, they might say, I don't really want to start, but maybe I can go work in that field.
We'll see. Interesting.
That's great.
All right.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you.
Appreciate
More
taking
flyers.
minutes, and we have some flyers, and we'll make sure we get that information out on the
Okay.
event of June 4th. So
Great. Nice to meet everybody.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry for our
Very much.
regular technical difficulties.
No problem.
One of these days, I'm gonna actually get it down.
I don't know. Good for you.
Yeah. So just a few other things to report. We're working our way through the budget process. Thanks again, Joe. We're working our way through the budget process. There are hearings before the RTM, which Colin knows all about. We'll be presenting the economic development budget on the 8th of April. So that's coming up next week. The Arts Commission, who are also providing staff support too, will be hosting a community conversation on the arts at the end of April at the FTC warehouse from 10 to 12. The intent here is to really hear from artists, creatives, and the public at large, those interested in the arts, as to how best the Arts Commission can foster a more vibrant arts community. So to inform their work and engage with artists and creatives around that topic. So it is a facilitated workshop. We'll have light refreshments and coffee. We do request advanced registration. It will be going out in our newsletter. A press release went out yesterday, so hopefully you'll be hearing and seeing more about that. And of course, if that's of interest to you, we would encourage you to join us on the 27th of April. We are hopefully working towards closing on the Connecticut Challenge Grant, the $3 million grant to upgrade the trunk sewer on the eastern side of town, to replace that, which is undersized and in poor condition in certain spots. There's a constriction in the line. So this is part of a larger, I think, $15 million project, of which $3 million is coming out of the Connecticut Challenge, and we have another pot of money from the Urban Act grant, about $750,000 towards construction. We have finalized our design plans and bid specifications. Should be going out to bid within the next week or so. Hopefully we'll have bids back and be under construction later this year.
That's good.
Assuming that comes in under budget this time. So this is again, we had gotten some funding. Part of the challenge for us with the Connecticut Challenge Grant is that it was linked to development in and around Fairfield Metro. So working with the developer to provide a personal guarantee for sources of funds and performance requirements and the like. So all that has taken some time to work through both the lender, the counsel for the lender, counsel for the developer, counsel for the state. It's been a lot of attorneys on this project. So again, we're hoping we'll close next week. Couple other notes. Planning and Zoning is working towards, they just had a hearing on their plan of conservation development, some further revisions and discussions of that document. I can provide a link to the most recent draft. At some point, they will go out to the public at large for final comment on the revised draft. My expectations we'll have hopefully an updated POCD by certainly I hope by the end of the year, but it's been an arduous journey so far, but hopefully again, that's our master plan document, which will guide development for the next 10 years. Bev from the chamber and Mary Alice in our office are working on the shop and stroll in in the spring event on May 2nd. We've partnered with Fairfield University and a restaurant community to do what are we calling it now? Fairfield Foodies, I think, which is promoted. The idea is really to encourage folks with an affiliation with, it could be very loose affiliation with Fairfield U, but students, faculty, staff, alums, you know, we're trying to have them frequent restaurants for the next, during kind of the middle of the week to boost restaurant activity. And, you know, it's just something we're trying out, but we've gotten a great response from the restaurant community. I think you have almost 36 restaurants.
This was an idea from somebody on my team and told them to go for it, and it's gotten tremendous response.
Yeah.
So we're just asking people to wear Fairfield gear or show your STAG card during the 3 days in April, and the restaurants can choose what, you know, a free drink or a discounted app or a discounted meal. So it's kind of up to the restaurants to choose what they want to provide as the incentive. But yeah, we'll see. So far, the restaurant response has been phenomenal. So promotion starting now for it to our community. So definitely something we would repeat or expand if it works well.
Yeah. Well, the price is certainly right for restaurants to join in. So
yeah, I mean, it's sort of a give back. Yeah. Mark, one other thing I did want to mention, if it's okay, just as we're on the topic of food and small business. September 6th, I believe that's the first Friday after Labor Day. At Fairfield U, we always call that First Fairfield Friday, and we have, you know, our president gives his kickoff speech. We have a welcome breakfast for new employees. We do our student activities event in the afternoon and the activities fair. We do a big barbecue. So it's sort of, you know, a first big day celebration on campus. We would like to invite merchants from town to come that day and have tables and sell product and sort of introduce them to our student community, but also our students to the businesses downtown.
Yeah, we would love to do that. That I know was a couple of the merchants had suggested looking for ways in which to partner with the university on providing greater exposure and awareness to the student body as well as folks on campus, professional capacity. So I think this is certainly welcome news, and we'll be happy to work with you to get the word out to all of our downtown businesses and others that might be interested in participating.
Okay, great.
And the only other, one other thing I just wanted to note generally is we'll be hosting a movie premiere, feature-length film, which is at the Shoe Community Theater. The premiere will be for The Long Game, which is a movie starring Jay Hernandez, Dennis Quaid, and Cheech Marin. The premiere is next Wednesday, the 10th. It will provide some disruption to traffic, I'm sure. So we're working closely with producers as well as the police department. There'll be some temporary no parking as well as road closures for Umpqua during the actual period of the lead up to the event. But exciting news, hopefully first of many that we might be able to host here. I know one of the attracting points here is not just we have a theater space that we can obviously host something like that, but it's close enough in proximity to the city, but, you know, a different cost structure out here. So, you know, again, we're looking forward to doing that, and hopefully we'll be having others events like that in the future. So stay tuned for that. And with that, I'll just entertain any questions before I turn things over to Kenny to update on his work. don't hear any, so Ken, you wanna just, we chatted yesterday briefly, but you wanna just fill everyone in on where things stand with your review?
Yeah, so over the weekend, task number one for me was to visit, assess, identify town-owned properties and see what potential leveraging we can do, you know, from an economic development point of view. So I don't know if any of you guys got to look at the map I created, but there's probably 100 and something properties that the town owns. If you go through it, some of them will be public parks, open spaces, town hall, other facilities. And interestingly enough, there are small little parcels, maybe a few square feet each, that are bounded by 2 private homes. Interesting how the town owns that and what the source of that was and how that came about, but interesting on that. Most of the properties I saw were on the south end of town. I did see the Mill Plain parking lot. I did see the Parks and Rec building, and toward the town facilities, you know, the town shops, the recycling center, the sewer treatment plant, and the facilities around that. My takeaway from this initial tour was, I think some of the properties that have some of the most value and should be considered to be analyzed is the Mill Plain lot, is the Parks and Recs building, and what I thought to be the most valuable, in my opinion, from a real estate point of view, is the Bigelow Senior Center. All of the properties are somehow constrained. The Mill Plain parking lot is probably constrained by market forces, so not sure how much commercial value we'll have in the future. Not sure how much residential value it has to a developer, but it is a well-sited piece of property. It's a meaningful size, and I'm sure there's something that that could be done with it and leveraged and monetized. The third, I think, most valuable property I saw was the Parks and Recs building. Not sure how much commercial value will have to someone, not sure how much residential value would have to someone, but just like the Mill Plain lot, it is well sited, and I'm sure it has some higher value somehow. What else should I go into, Mark?
No, I think I think in terms of next steps, I mean, as we talked, there's probably an opportunity to do kind of a back of the envelope type highest and best use analysis without, you know, going out and engaging somebody that does that for a living, paying for a consultant to perform that type of work. But you probably at some point, for those that merit, you know, serious consideration, that's probably the step that you would have to take. And then with anything, you know, there are a lot of other stakeholders that would be involved in making a determination to change the existing use to something else. And I think that's, you know, a broader conversation with other folks and a process that will need to unfold over a period of time where at some point you decide on, you know, a course of action, and then you go out to the marketplace and ask for actual proposals. But, you know, there's a couple of steps before you get to that.
So the town isn't selling the land.
I think the town primarily would be interested in doing some kind of ground lease and retaining ownership to the extent it's encouraging development.
Mm-hmm.
You know, two that Kenny mentioned, Parks and Rec, Bigelow Center.
Yeah.
We've talked about, you know, whether, you know, obviously there's an ongoing need to have a Parks and Rec department and a senior center and provide, and the Bigelow Center is very vibrant, a lot of activity there. Mm-hmm. But, you know, at the same time, the town is hopefully in the process of acquiring the Turner Reserve Center, which under the terms of the restrictions The use restrictions can be used for recreational purposes. So maybe there's an opportunity to relocate one or both of those facilities, co-locate them within that facility, which might open up either or both of those sites for other types of uses. So, you know, it's a good process in terms of the smaller properties. I'm sure, you know, one of the, especially those that have private property on either side, you know, they could be rights of way that were never fully established, you know, with the intent of establishing a road or something like that. Or they just were orphan lots that were left over. And maybe at some point the town should just decide to divest itself of those properties. And there's a process by which you do that. And, you know, sometimes you abandon that and they get added to the property owners, split down the middle and added to the property owners on either side. So again, I think it's a good exercise, but obviously there are other folks that would have to be consulted beside economic development. So that's my 2 cents. Any other thoughts?
I'm happy to help you figure out a plan of action on what, you know, how we can, you know, get things started on those 3 properties or anything else we might want to add to it.
Okay, and I think Steve also had expressed interest as well.
And just an FYI, my office is right next on Mill Plain. And I live and breathe that street every day with about 5 different awkward intersections that are coming off of 95 and on. I think the property is great and it's sizable, but there would be a huge traffic issue there. It already is so backed up. So
you know, the big challenge is that
would be
it goes into that 5-legged intersection underneath the Metro North, and that's a major choke point. So until you can figure out the infrastructure, I think that would limit your development potential for that and the train station site, frankly. So
I mean, it's sitting there and it's a nice piece of property, but then when you think about putting anything on it, it's like, oh my gosh.
That's a good traffic study, that's for sure.
Right, yes, exactly.
thank you, Kenny. And I just want to two other things under like project development sites. Did want to mention 2 things of maybe of interest. One, at least Genesis did receive approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals on the 7th of March, and they're now pursuing full site plan applications for development of a dealership showroom on Commerce Drive. So Jeff Belize thanked the commission for its support for the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'll prepare a similar letter for Kevin's review and signature for the planning and zoning application, which has no date has been scheduled yet. And there is only some movement for form a bank branch on Hillside Avenue in the Greenfield Hill area. We're having a code review meeting to discuss a proposed childcare facility for that property, which I think is a good use. With that, I will turn things over to Bev for her update.
Okay. Good morning to everyone. The chamber right now, we're coming into our annual fundraiser at the end of April. Historically, we've had it at the historic Burr Mansion, but we'll be utilizing the tent this year. We've got all sorts of wine tasting, beer tasting, a lot of bourbon tastings. Illicit will be coming in, one of our newest, places in town. So, and coming out of COVID, we couldn't do our fundraiser last year, so we're looking forward to it this year. So that's one of ours coming up. I just did agree to a date with Patterson Club in June on the 19th for our awards dinner. We will be expanding that and the recognition portion of it. So I'm working on that now. But that will be held at Patterson at Brooklawn this year. And one other event that we're looking to hold probably in September is women-owned awards reception. Everyone seems to be very excited about this. I'm a little stuck on what is the criteria for that. You know, it can be give back to the community. It can be how long have you been in business? It can be an assortment of different things. I want to be very careful about not offending anyone with choice. So if anyone has any ideas for me, or if we've been involved with anything like this, you know, years ago, pre-COVID, we had family owned. And that worked out well because my guideline was how many years they were in business. So you can't dispute that. But women owned is a little different. So I would ask for any thoughts that anyone has to help me on this. And I'll be putting together a committee pretty soon on this. I have a lot of women-owned businesses in Fairfield. So that will be.
Don't ask me to name them.
Right. Well, then there's Shaughnessy. So that's my update, and we start our new fiscal year on July 1st.
We do as well.
Bev, do you have a date for the annual fundraiser?
The spring fling.
The spring, yes, it's the 25th of April.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And I'll be sure to, I'm sure many of you have already received notice of the spring fling for if those of you interested in attending, but I'll be happy to send out another link so that we, if you want to come and partake in the bourbon tasting, whatever else tasting we've got there, and just to support the chamber, we'll be happy to send that link out.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Other business before we're running up against our 9:30 time. So any other questions or comments from folks? Justin?
Nothing here.
Okay.
I'm all set as well.
Okay. So I guess with that, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I hear we're adjourned, and it is 9:28. So thank you all for joining us today.